That's a very beautiful building. Our Wrigley building, Graham Anderson Post and White there, early 1920s. Now on the other side of the Michigan Avenue Bridge, we're about to come across a style of architecture called contextualism. Giant corn-cob-like towers here. This is Marina City. Now Marina City, designed by a man named Bertram Goldberg. Now Bertram is a guy who's a fan of curved and linear design. So after a while, I just started calling it the Hot Pocket on the river. And right next door to our Hot Pocket, we have Riverbend Condominiums. Yet another building with a curve in its facade, matching the curve of the river. Architects keeping that theme going here at Wolf Point. Curves in your building that match the curve of the river. And I know you're probably all noticing this massive bridge in its upright position. Coming into view on our left is going to be Kinsey Park Townhomes. Now these two structures are telling a very unique story about our river. Now let's start over here with East Bank Club. They took over this building back in the 80s. And notice how this building has its backside facing towards the river. Rude. And once you capture that photo, take in that view, I want to draw your attention on our right. So notice this building with the Y-shaped base that matches the Y shape of the river. A building is about 3 times as wide at the top than it is at the base. A building that only uses about 20% of its lot for foundational space while the rest is an open plaza. I'm talking about 150 North Riverside here on our right. Now 150 North Riverside. We have those recessed river windows, vertical racing stripes, limestone cladding. Now also with Art Deco, you're going to sometimes have a calling back to ancient civilizations like the Greeks, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Mayans. So on the other side of this bridge, I want you to notice these slightly creepy but mostly cool Greek masks established across the backside of the building here. That Greek influence for the building there. And if you look at the opera as a whole, you're going to notice it has a major setback to it. The major setback that makes it look like a giant throne. That giant throne-like structure there. We see some themes of contextualism coming back once again. We have that reflective glass showing off the environment around us. You have a dark green color tint to the glass, matching the dark green color of the river. A curve on the backside of the building, matching the curve, acknowledging the curve of the river. We're seeing our environment around us. And right next door, we have a building featured in some popular movies. Top of the Dark Knight movie, the Joker and his goons are. You see, that story I told you is the same story that newspapers told back in the day because they didn't know how the fire started. Now don't get me wrong, there were a lot of facts within that story. For example, the fire did start over in this direction by Mrs. O'Leary's barn. Sears Tower. Now if you were to walk about the base of the Sears, you might find a funny way of spelling Sears. They spell it W-I-L-L-I-S. Here in Chicago, that's pronounced Sears. That Willis is silent. Now that we got that very important fact out the way. Building under construction here. I mentioned earlier, Wolf Point Tower West, this brand new 50-story residential building. Right here is its sister, Wolf Point Tower East, which will be a 60-story office residential building. And then in between, you can imagine a third of the siblings, which would be a 60-story office building. Residential office, 50, 60, and 60. 3-part building series coming to a little plot of land there, building up our river's edge. Projection system. because at night we like to project digital art on the backside of the merchandise mart here. We call it Art on the Mart. It's a projected digital art that covers the entire backside of the merchandise mart from side to side, top to bottom. It's pretty cool. A great thing for you to enjoy as you walk along the Riverwalk here at night. The city really transforms at night here. Light designs are added to the buildings to really bring out their architectural features that you see during the day. Projected digital art on the backside of the merchandise mart there. Facing down the facade of the building itself, reflective glass showing off the environment around us. 77 Wacker, truly beautiful building. And on the other side of this bridge, if you get a chance to look about halfway up 77 Wacker, you're going to notice a horizontal belt of that white Portuguese granite. Horizontal belt of that white Portuguese granite that just so happens to match the height of 55 Wacker next door. 55 Wacker is my little buddy on the river. Call him Little Danny DeVito. That short, angry looking building stuck between the two supermodels. DeVito. Also a bit of an indentation on the building that matches the height of 55 Wacker. Architects designed those buildings in ways for them to acknowledge each other. And down below you see our nice city winery, this restaurant section on the Riverwalk, where you can hang out, have a glass of wine, some food, some drink, relax along the river's edge here. Great place to hang out on a sunny day out here in Chicago. The leaf, not a very thick material, very thin. Don't recommend going up there trying to scrape it off. But the building was designed by the Burnham brothers. They took inspiration from the Shanghai. Very close to being right. This isn't exactly Art Deco. This is what we call Eco Deco. Now, Eco Deco, promising once again, I did not just make that up. What we're doing is just reimagining the original Art Deco design with new and modern material. Art Deco came about during the Roaring 20s. Adrian Smith opened up this building in the 80s. Side of the bridge, on our left. We have our giant fidget spinner on the river, or giant flask, depending on how old you are and what you're in the mood for. But either way, this is Lake Point Tower, opened up back in 1968. And when it did, it was one of the tallest residential buildings of its kind. 70 floors, over 750 residents within the building. And when you have that many people living within your building, you gotta add this curvilinear design to it to make sure your guests and residents are looking out and about and not in on each other. Lake Point Tower there. Now they say that Oprah Winfrey lived here. Black box models in there. We also checked out some Art Deco, Eco Deco, Brutalism. But what I want to encourage you to do is you continue to explore the city of Chicago. Continue to take in these different architectural designs. See if you can find the different types of styles we talked about on the river throughout different sections of the city. Remember, architecture reflecting the ideas of beauty of your country and your city over time, it can be an incredible thing. Now, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques at all, I will be at the top of the ramp there. Your appreciation is much appreciated. On behalf of our captain, crew, everybody that kept you nice and safe throughout the tour, I'd like to welcome you all back into our beautiful city of Chicago. Thank you all so much. Please remain seated.